I can't tell if I look decent, if my face is well lit. There's like this yawn on my camera, and it's probably because I believe my video is a little slanted because you know, we're not monetized yet, guys. Like, I don't know, but like 80% of y'all who watch my videos aren't subscribed, so we working with a slanted video today. Please subscribe. We need to get monetized because what is this? I put hot glue to fix my tripod because I don't feel like getting a new one right now, and it's like very slanted. So yeah, subscribe so I can be monetized sooner and we can get a new tripod. Yay! I have a really busy week behind me and ahead of me, so I don't know, but I just really need to get on here and talk about this topic, even if like only 2 people view it and none of them are even Puerto Rican or Hispanic. I don't even care. I mean, this is technically a Gen Z topic, you know, being a no sabo, as I get into what that means a little bit, but being a no sabo is, I suppose, a Gen Z topic. People whose family came to this country from the island of Puerto Rico, or just honestly any Hispanic country. And this video does kind of delve into anxiety in the sense of the anxiety of fitting into your culture, and the anxiety of feeling isolated when you are like a multicultural person, and it can kind of make you feel like an imposter. And when I mean multicultural, I'm not like only talking about like this, you know, I'm talking about, you know, like growing up away from the country where your family's from, growing up with relatives who are from a different culture than you and whatnot, or being adopted is a huge time where a lot of Hispanic people, a lot of indigenous people end up being in a multicultural environment or schools. What first began the spiral I started having was yesterday was the Puerto Rican Day Parade. And I'm like, man, every single year I say, I want to go to this John, and I never end up going. I just went back home and I played some Bad Bunny and started cooking Puerto Rican food in my kitchen. And then she brought up something about being no sabo, which I know a little bit of Spanish, so I know no sabo means I don't know, you know. The few Puerto Rican people I come across, the few Hispanic people I come across from where I'm from have such a negative light on Hispanic culture. And this weekend I went to this really beautiful concert, but that's a whole other vlog, so if you want to watch that vlog, subscribe. But yeah, and this is a room where I honestly never in my life saw like someone speaking English and Spanish embracing the beauty, the trauma, the joy, the healing process of being Hispanic in this country, especially during these times and during this year. And I kind of just like had an epiphany. I'm like, wow, I do kind of want to learn more about my culture. Like a couple years ago I did do the like a deep dive about like Afro-Indigenous culture in Puerto Rico. They are indios, as my abuela will call it, which are like, you know, people of Taino descent. Yeah, and I went on some deep dive, but like I just couldn't find much information about Taino culture, which is crazy to me because like Tainos were the first people who came in contact with Christopher Columbus when he came to the Americas, as they rebranded it. He first came to Puerto Rico, or I don't know if he first came to Puerto Rico or he first met the Taino people. And the Taino people are a tribe that they migrated to Puerto Rico from the Arawak, chopping this up, no Sabo kid here, but the Arawak tribe, I believe, in South America, right? But I kind of have like very surface level historical understanding of Taino culture, and honestly Afro, Latino, Afro Puerto Rican culture in general. Is just like, since I don't know Spanish, there's just a huge barrier into learning this stuff. But back then I was like, well, first, you might wondering how I even got here, right? So when I was 4, my mom asked me if I wanted to learn Spanish. And I sat there and I said I was American. And I found out recently on Reels that this is actually a really common thing where like Spanish kids would refuse to learn Spanish and their parents just kind of hold it against them. Like, I was 4, bro. And to be fair, most of my Hispanic like family relatives, they didn't live in the same state as me, and most of them still live in Puerto Rico. So my dad, who is African American and Caucasian, white, whatever, that's kind of like the culture I grew up around. It was kind of easy for me to just fit into those cultures because that was the culture that was like mostly easily accessible to me. And where I'm from, for whatever reason, there's like a lot of bad stereotypes about like Puerto Ricans. Like, I don't know, there's just like a divide. Like, there's stereotypes about how like we're lazy. Other Hispanic people come to this country and they actually start businesses and they work. And I just grown up around all these negative stereotypes about my culture. Where I was growing up in mainland America, I just feel like it was more easily accessible for me to just fit into American culture, and not complicate things. But that still never stopped me from having love for my culture or anything. I remember, I was growing up and I was going through the process of, I feel like a lot of people of color have the process of decolonizing myself. And I always try to incorporate like African, indigenous, in general, like Puerto Rican culture into my education, like art. I am an artist, so I love learning about cultures through art and visuals. So yeah, I was 4 and I was silly and I didn't understand the significance of learning Spanish. And when I got offered to take like Spanish classes, like I learned it, but I still was never like motivated to learn it because I was at that point, as someone who is part Black, I'm just like, well, at the end of the day, Spanish is still a colonizer language, just like English, so what is the big deal? Like, I wanted to learn like, tribal languages of Africa or Taino, but because of what they've done to people during the colonization of America, our language just kind of disappeared from what I understand, because again, I speak English, and that's kind of what I wanted to get into in this video, is that I just had like such a huge grudge for Spanish because I'm like, well, I'm Black, I'm indigenous, like why does Spanish even matter to me? But then I realized that like a lot of like academic texts, a lot of articles to even learn about African and indigenous culture in Puerto Rico are still in Spanish. So then I just kind of had a realization like, wow, because I refused to learn Spanish all these years, I just have this huge barrier into like learning more about the history of Puerto Rico in general, because the history of Puerto Rico is a fusion of all three cultures at the end of the day, and I'm just lost. Not only not knowing Spanish put a barrier into me learning more about the history of my ancestors, it also puts a huge barrier into having intimate conversations with my family. And I never really realized that until I visited Puerto Rico around the time after Hurricane Maria, and I just felt like very isolated. Like I know they love me, but it was just hard having conversations because I don't speak Spanish, and I was so excited to go and visit my family for the first time. And don't get me wrong, I love myself, I love my culture, it's in my blood, and anyone should. But if I'm being honest, at the moment, I feel deep shame that I can't talk to my abuela. Like, she's literally like the last indigenous relative, you know, in my immediate family that's still alive. And she's really old, but you know, she still remembers how the island was way before technology, you know, growing up in huts, growing up in the mountains. And yeah, and I deeply care about learning about it, and I just feel like it's now or never to learn Spanish, and I just can't keep making excuses of like not learning it, because in the coming years this might be my last time to have a conversation with her. It can be in spaces, you know, not know Spanish, but I want to deeply more connect in spaces where Spanish is being spoken, and feel the love and the energy and the happiness and pass down these ways of thinking that are very different from American ways of thinking. Because yeah, I feel like here is very isolated, and I became such a very isolated and cold person, and I don't really want to be that way anymore. I feel like learning Spanish is a good first step into exploring more what it is to be human, and what it is to be human. I feel like Spanish is a way for me to deeply explore and better understand my culture. Comment down below what you think, your feelings, vent out anything you got on your mind. And yeah, bye my cyborgs, and I hope you enjoyed this talk.